All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Hello and welcome. It is time for the finale here, round 16 out of 16 of the Division 2 Championship, and we are here at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. My name is Fallen Monkeys, back here in the commentary booth, ready to take you through all of the action as we're just ready to kick off our short qualifying session here, and what a race it is going to be. Like I said, it is the finale of the Division 2 Championship. We've had 16 rounds, or 15 rounds prior to this one. It is round 16. It is the final round. And it is going to be a good one here. Always exciting to have a race here in Brazil around this circuit. It's always a great one for the drivers, for us in the commentators booth, and I'm sure for all of you watching at home as well. As we've got Krishna running an outlap, leading the charge here on the medium tires to get started on their first flying lap here, and I'm noticing it's a little bit cloudy here here at the circuit. So could we maybe see a little bit of weather, a little bit of rain play a factor here? Riding on board, not seeing any drops on that car just yet, but always a possibility here in Brazil that we do see some rain. The weather loves to play a factor here in this track, just to add to the level of difficulty here on this circuit. But as the Ferrari is coming around the final few corners now, we will jump on board and I will take us through a lap of this circuit. So down the start-finish straight we go, across the line, hard braking zone into turn 1 at the Senna S's here. Turn 1, turn 2, you can take a bit of curve in turn 2, does make things a little bit easier on the exit here, heading down towards the DRS straight. You can see that flap open, maximizing the speed, 200 miles an hour, hard braking zone around the 75 meter board there. Very left turn. Now you're heading up the hill, just maybe a slight lift here down into 6, but quickly back on the power to carry the speed through the corner. Now into truly sector 2, which is a bit more of a slower section here. You can see carrying keeping those revs low in third through that corner. Hard on the brakes here in second, but quickly back up into third on the power. Just a little kink to the left. You can generally take it full throttle if the tires do allow, and the setup does as well, around that last true corner, because just a couple kinks to go now before you head back towards the line. You can see cutting that pit line just a little bit, no issues with that, and seems like Krishna with the 108.4 setting himself up possibly for another lap here. Generally you'll see drivers as they cross the line stick to the left hand side of the track. Let's see what VR's gonna do. Yep, exactly just like that. And there you have it, a 107.8 for VR 46 Yarno as he continues his strong showings here in the championship. Now I know I've mentioned a lot of VR. He's had a lot of strong races here, and he's been doing a good job in the championship. And speaking of the championship, the driver's standings, when I take a look at that, it is essentially all sorted here. It's Zuwil, who is actually on your screen right now, coming through a lap, heading towards the line, but he is still, of course, the champion of of Division 2. He has, up until this point, he has 449 points, as he takes provisional pole position on the soft tires. Now, of course, looking elsewhere down the order, we still have a couple battles to go here. We've got Knight, who's currently in third, who is second in the championship, with it's Nazareth rounding out the top 3. Knight with 326 points, Nazareth with 256. So I think P1, P2 might essentially be all done and dusted, but below then, you've got Nazareth in third, VR46 Yarno, that same aforementioned VR46 Yarno, who's in fourth, only 10 points behind Nazareth, and only about 4 points behind VR is Sofian. Although Sofian, looking at the order, unfortunately not here to at least in qualifying, and I don't know if he's going to be making it to the race, unfortunately. So will not be able to challenge. But that top 5 is looking very exciting here. As said, we've got the Red Bull of Demorts now crossing the line, getting his first lap done. Demorts up into P2. So a solid lap from Demorts there, a 107.5. And Demorts as well, he's had a great season. We've seen him involved with a lot of battles. Has unfortunately, though, had a little bit of bad luck here and there over the course of the season, which is possibly why he's not quite up the order as much as we would have expected. Demorts currently running in 7th position, chasing down Dark for that P6. Now, who is on a lap right now? We have Boris F1, who is running the Mercedes right now, and Boris, new to the Division 2 scene, generally we'll see him in Division 3. That's generally where he races. I think I'm not too sure how his race went in Division 3, but we'll see how he's going to perform here at the next level up in Division 2, quite possibly in the works for him. That I'm not too sure, but dives into the pits. Will not be setting a lap time here. He was on the medium tires, so maybe just getting used to how those tires are going to feel once the time does come over the course of the race. But for now, we have Luchis, who is actually in pole position. A 107.314 is the time to beat. Demorts in second as he's coming into the pits, with It's Nazareth rounding out the top 3. So Will actually, just as I jump over to him, was in P4, but set a little bit of a quicker lap now on what is 3-lap-old soft tires. And he goes up to 2nd place here. So an interesting call from Will to set 3 laps now on that same set of tires. So he and Knight as well, who are still running here. An interesting call from the both of these drivers, not looking to dive into the pits, just looking to stay out on track for as long as possible. Could possibly mean maybe less rainy showing in qualifying, but maybe for the start of the race we could possibly see some rain here, which would explain why drivers are just going out and setting lap times, because of course if it is a wet weather start and we start on wet weather tires, either the intermediates or the full wet tires, very much so a possibility that which is a possibility. Well, we don't need to worry about the tire you set your best qualifying time on. But we'll see how that's all going to play out. We've got Freefall, who I think is currently on an outlap right now, not using much of any ERS, currently in 8th position. So we'll keep an eye and see if he can improve. DeRoy, meanwhile, coming through. He has a purple 2nd sector here. No time on the board, but he's on a set of soft tires, so we'll see what he can do. Now, we've seen a lot of pace from DeRoy, and we'll see if he can continue that here in Interlagos as he heads towards the line. What's it going to be? Up to P3 for the McLaren driver. So a pretty good lap time here. It's a 107.460 for DeRoy for his first lap time on the board. So very good lap there. And it looks like I just pulled up the chat very quickly as VR46 Yarno retakes that provisional pole position here with still a lot of time to go in this qualifying session. Just pulling up the chat, it looks like we might, or there is a chance that we get rain at the end of the race. So nothing really for the start of the race. Could be a dry start, but maybe shifting into some wet weather conditions near the end, maybe adding an extra pit stop here, which could really shake things up for this final race. And I'm excited to see how things are going to play out here. But now I'm looking here. It looks like a lot of those drivers who set 2-3 laps on the tires, they've since gone into the pits and might be looking to improve now on a much fresher set. Get themselves set up much better for qualifier, for the start of the race, I should say. Demorts is currently running a lap. We'll take a look at Demorts. We've got Nazareth also, who's right at the end of Sector 2, starting Sector 3 around that true final corner of Interlagos, because the rest of them are just kinks, of course. But as he heads towards the line goes Nazareth. Is he going to improve? It's going to be a good lap. It's a 107.142, and that's 3/1000ths of a second faster than that time that was set by VR46 Yarno. So Nazareth retakes or takes that provisional pole position, so showing a lot of pace here in this stage, as very crucially The track is I think heating up a little bit here. We're starting to see the sun come out, so it's gonna be interesting to see. Possibly times are gonna fall. Demore says he's heading towards the line, or was heading towards the line. I don't think he had an improvement there. Wasn't quite able to see the time, but definitely won't be improving on this next lap here, as he has an invalidation through the Senna S's, through the first few corners here, and that is going to be the end of that attempt. So if we head back down, we've got Krishna, who, funny enough, was the first driver to get a time on the board here. Really hasn't held up all that well for Krishna. 108.4. It's last of the cars, the running cars, who have set a lap time. Of course, Boris is equally trying to get a lap time in, as he's coming through, just finishing the Senna S's down that DRS straight. But we'll keep an eye on Krishna for now, as he's a little bit farther ahead. We'll see what Sector 2 is looking, as we've got a neat little bug there on that minimap from VR46 as looks like the game isn't sure whether or not he's on track on an outlap in the pits. So we'll go check up on that in just a moment, as it looks like now he's officially on an outlap. So that's been sorted out there, but a funky little bit of a bug there, as there we go. Krishna going from last of the timed cars to first of the timed cars here, a 107.132. So Krishna putting on a set of soft tires. He's showing a lot of pace here. So a very good lap time indeed from the Ferrari driver. But we'll keep an eye out. There's VR, business as usual. Nothing worrisome there. Boris, meanwhile, just crossed the line himself, as he sets a 107.8 on what is 2-lap-old soft tires. So pretty good lap time from Boris. Down in P11, just outside of the top 10, very close to that the time set by Knight. But speaking of Knight, he's about to cross the line. Was about 0.3 faster, and goes just under 2.5 tenths faster by the end of that lap. It's a 107.607, but he will remain in 10th position here with that time. So maybe has a little bit more in the tank here. With 5.5 minutes to go, there is still time to get one last lap time in here before the qualifying session comes to a close. Meanwhile, let's switch over to the Alfa Romeo switchback. We haven't seen much of switchback here so far in this qualifying session, as he's coming through down through the Senna S's, down the pit exit straight with that DRS open. So he's running a flying lap for sure. Didn't quite catch the Sector 1 time quick enough, so we'll see what he can do through Sector 2. The 107.1 is the time to beat, set by Krishna not too long ago. We see Nazareth and even VR46 who might actually be on a lap right now. If we switch over to him very quickly, yes, he is on a lap, so we'll see what VR can do. Can he re-get that pole position here late in this qualifying session, as he heads towards the line with the onboard? He will take that pole position, and by a fine margin at that, a 106.850 for VR46 He is showing a lot of pace here in Brazil, but now we'll see if anybody can challenge. Switchback, meanwhile, jumps up to P7. It's a 107.341 on that lap. So leapfrogs a couple drivers and puts himself, was up in P7, but now down in 8th, as I believe that was SFR Morris, who just set his 107.3 now, and he goes a little bit faster and jumps up to P5 in this qualifying session. So really, we're starting to see the lap times really start to fall here, and I think it's going to be a good battle. But for now, it's VR46 who is the driver to beat. He's a provisional pole sitter, as he has been quite a few times this season. The question is, can he hang on to that pole position once the timer hits 0? As apologies for that, we had Freefall on the screen, but Freefall has an invalidation through Sector 2, so that lap will not be an improvement. Unfortunately, he's going to have to set another one, and you can see letting some of the other drivers through. So we'll quickly switch over and see who else is on a lap. That appears to be DeRoy, possibly running a lap himself. I think, SFR Moore is diving into the pits. And meanwhile, Real DC and Naz Nazareth look to be on their out laps just starting. Real DC is actually just starting a flying lap of his own, so we'll stick with the driver who is currently P4 in these qualifying order standings. He has a second row of the grid as of right now, but on a lap looking to improve. Meanwhile, you can see a couple other drivers, the likes of Krishna, and that's the Red Bull of D-Morts behind them, just leaving the pit lane with a couple others doing something similar. So it looks like now is the time to go. 2.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. So the track is not going to be quicker than what it is now. It won't be much quicker than what it is now. It's the perfect time to get out, be out on track once that timer hits 0, so you can take advantage of the grippiness of the track and put on a good lap and see maybe snag that pole position right out of the hands of VR, like we've seen VR do a couple times in the past. SFR Morris, meanwhile, that's the end of his qualifying. He's had enough. So we'll be taking the rest on the sidelines. Here comes the Real DC, who sets a 107.003. So close to a legitimate 107 flat, but that puts him up into P2 for the moment. So very good lap time, but still about 0.2 of a second behind the time by VR46 who is interestingly sitting in the pits right now. So you might be that might actually be him leaving the pit lane now to start an out lap. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Krishna, though, currently sitting in third. He's running a lap, but I think abandons that very quickly, as you can see. So we'll switch over to somebody else. Nazareth, already having done a lap on his tires, might be going for another one. DeRoy could be a similar option here, as they're both running P4 and P5. Luchis is looking to improve, as he's just starting a flying lap right now, I believe. We saw D-Morts, who was just let by. Purple in the second sector, 0.2 of a second faster than his previous best time. We'll see if he can carry that through, maybe find a little bit more time as he heads towards the line. Where will the Red Bull driver end up as he crosses the line? Way up there, up into P5. It's a 107.193, so a very good lap time here with 30 seconds to go in the qualifying session. And for D-Morts, he finds himself now in a top 5. We'll see if that'll stand, as we got a couple other big runners who are on their flying laps right now, actually. So there could still be a lot of movement to have. Will, meanwhile, running a flying lap. He's got 12 seconds before the end of the session, so he's gonna have to keep it clean. This is going to have to be the lap for him, as he had a little bit of traffic there from Boris, but nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, Jordan and Marcos, their qualifying are over. Here comes Will, actually, as Luchis dives into the pits. Will across the line, only 6th fastest for Will here, so he's still an improvement, but will not be challenging for that provisional pole. Here comes Switchback. I don't think it's going to be enough, though. No, definitely not, as he dives into the pits, and we saw him slow up. Let's quickly go up to the, let's see, some of these main runners here. There's Krishna crossing the line. Where is he going to go? Only P5 set about the exact same lap time. We've got the Real DC who crossed the line. It's a 106.956, so did go faster, but not fast enough. DeRoy, he's out of fuel, and Nazareth is out of fuel as well. So unless Knight has something in the tank here, and no, it's an invalidation, it appears as if a VR, and I think he knows it too, is going to be hanging on to that pole position with the 106.850. You saw drivers got close with that 106.9 from Real DC, the near 107 flat from Nazareth, but at the end of the day, it's VR46 the familiar face on pole position here at the end of qualifying. As you can see, the final few drivers diving into the pits, and it will officially be the end of qualifying here. So it was a great session of qualifying action. We saw the weather did not quite start off all that well, but got better as the session played along. Now we'll see how drivers are going to handle the race conditions. as we will get to that in just a few moments. But there we have it. I mean, one more time, looking at this order, you can see so close are so many of these drivers with the VR on pole, but only a tenth of a second off was the real DC, and a tenth and a half off was Nazareth. Looking down the top 5, separated by less than 3/10 of a second, top 6 even. And as we head down towards the essentially the top 10, they've all got essentially half a second or less than half a second separating the top 10, and Knight there just outside of that top 10, outside of that half a second. But you know, he's probably had more in the tank, just could not keep that lap between the white lines there right at the end. But there is the rest of the order as we head down through. We'll go through it officially one more time here once we head through into the formation lap. But that's the end of qualifying, and we're going to be jumping into the race. So we'll see how things are going to play out for the 36 laps here around Interlagos, because it is time for the race here in Brazil. Very, very excited to kick things off, and very similar to what we saw in qualifying. It's a little bit of a cloudy session here to start the Grand Prix, to start it. Not much sun here, and we'll see. Are conditions going to get better? I had heard that there is possibility of rain at the end of this race, so I don't know if they're going to get better. We'll see if the rain is going to be enough to force an extra pit stop from the drivers, or if it's just going to stay dry enough to be sort of that in between where it's raining but the slick tires are still the best option. But we'll see how that all plays out in just a few moments once we get the cue to start the formation lap, and of course the 5 red lights to start the Brazilian Grand Prix here. Alright, took a quick sip of water, ladies and gentlemen, but we are just about set to kick off the formation lap and the start of the Grand Prix. Really excited to take you all through this session of racing action, and here we go. We've got the 1 red light. That light has turned off, and it's going to be the Williams of VR 4600 who is going to take us through the formation lap here, and who will be leading the pack of 20 cars barreling down towards turn 1. And already Krishna and Duil, the two CRL drivers, coming in contact very early on, and they get sent to the grid. They're not disqualified out of the race, of course, but they just are going to have to sit on the grid much longer. Tires are going to get not as warm as they would ideally like here compared to everybody else. So we'll see how that's going to affect the start. And speaking of tires, let's quickly take a look at this and see what everybody's got. So VR 4600 Real DC on the first row. They're on the softs, of course. Nazareth DeRoy on row 2. Row 3 sitting on the grid right now. Krishna and Zuwil. D-Morts, SFR Morris in the 4th row with Lucis and Switchback rounding out the top 10 on row 5. All starting on the soft tires. Unsurprisingly, that is the tire they set their fastest lap on. Now you've got Knight in P11, best of the rest, and he opted for an alternate strategy, a set of medium tires here to start the race. Jordan, meanwhile, will be starting alongside Knight on row 6. He's put a set of soft tires on, so soft to hards, mediums to hards is the predicted pit stop strategy. We'll see how that plays out. I've seen 2 stops work as well. Boris, free fall, rotation, all putting on a set of medium tires, with Comp Koala running a little bit of an alternate strategy and a half here with a set of hard tires, really trying to get some heat in these tires and creating a lot of space between himself and the grid. We've seen that with Marcos behind, bringing up the rear in P17. He's on the medium tire, so might have a bit more of a jump compared to Comp Koala. But there we go, as the last few drivers are taking their place on the grid. We are just about set to kick things off here in Brazil at Interlagos for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Let's do this. 4 lights, up to 5. Red lights. And the lights are off, and we are racing here in Brazil. As it looks to be a good start from a lot of drivers heading down towards turn 1. Nazareth already gaining a spot here as he's up into second. Real DC down the order. SFR Morris and Krishna are switching as Do Will hanging on to 6th. They're 2 wide, nearly 3 wide behind there, involved with the... but now we've got Krishna trying to go for a move as he's about to make it 3 wide down this straight. Are they going to go 3 wide into the corner? I don't think so, but it's going to be close here. But they're side by side here. It's Do Will and Krishna. Looks like Do Will is going to get the position though, so no love lost after that formation lap contact there from the 2 drivers. They're really out racing as hard as they can. Meanwhile, you've got Luchis and Switchback gaining a couple positions. That looked to be Knight trying to go for a move. As you can see, saw a gap there down the inside of Switchback, but could not quite find the traction. As Switchback trying to go for it on Luchis. Is he going to get the move? Now they're side by side. Switchback on the outside line here, so he's going to have to really stick it into this braking zone, and no, not going to happen here as it looks like Luchis hangs on to P8 as we got a fantastic view of that. But meanwhile, Koala already up a couple positions, up to 13th place, so he had a great start right off the bat. But now here comes Krishna side by side with Do Will as they head down into turn 1, and there's contact! Oh no, there was contact, and that's Krishna gone for a half spin, brings out a yellow flag. He's going to have to get that car back on track. But unfortunate incident for the 2 drivers there that seem to can't get away from each other over the course of this race into the formation lap, and of course here in the first lap of the race. But back to this midfield battle here, as you can see, it's a little bit chaotic. You've got Switchback now leading the charge, Jordan behind, but here comes Knight, who is trying to go for an overtake on Jordan. Meanwhile, his teammate now slips it down the inside as the 2 teammates are going to battle here on this final race as they're still alongside. You know they're going to want to leave space here and not ruin both of their races, but it's great battling to see, but they're not really helping each other to try to keep up with Jordan, who's now kind of running away a little bit on those soft tires. That's been resolved since then, as Knight does take that position on the mediums. Now Koala, he's going to have to keep behind the Ferrari of rotation, who looks to be possibly on a mission to try to get an extra position, but Koala looking to go right back at his teammate here. So an interesting call here. Oh no, but clipping the curb was Koala, and he goes for a little bit of a spin there as we got a front row seat to that. So a little unfortunate for Koala as he made quite a few positions, but now falling back down the order. Meanwhile, Jordan, he gets ahead of Switchback as Jordan is trying to work his way up the field a little bit here. Switchback trying to battle back, but if we look at the leaders, that midfield battle has kept me busy for a while, but at the front, there's still a race happening here for the win. VR is still leading, building a little bit of a gap here to Nazareth, 0.7 of a second. So for Nazareth, it's very crucial that he keeps VR to within 1 second here for when that DRS does get active, so we can use that to his advantage. Real DC and DeRoy following along, and Demorts as well. Krishna, meanwhile, that looks to be the end of his Grand Prix, unfortunately, and that is bringing out a virtual safety car that will effectively neutralize the race here. 3 laps in. Let's quickly switch over as you can see Do Will taking a pit stop very early on. We just briefly saw that car of Krishna, so I think same spot where there was that contact with Do Will. It looks like the next lap, unfortunately, might have had a similar spin, maybe to his own accord, and that was the end of the race for Krishna, unfortunately, here, as he gets an early sideline and an early end to the season for that Ferrari driver. But we are now under full caution safety car, so we got the switch from virtual safety car to full caution safety car. So now, so there we go. So the race is effectively neutralized. It shouldn't be out for too long, though, here, the safety car, because really we didn't have much time to really let the grid disperse. Only drivers who are really out from that main pack of cars are, well, Do Will, of course, who's catching up to that safety car himself, and hopefully he can get past the safety car. It looks like he's... there we go. Now got past the safety car. You don't want to be touching that safety car, or else bad things will happen. So I think waiting for the right opportunity to get ahead and overtake. And Kom Koala, but already they're catching up to the grid. Not too sure what the safety car is really. Looks like he's going for a lap. A switchback now, taking a pit stop, diving into the pits. He's going to get off of those soft tires. We'll see what he's opting to put in. What is going on here? Safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. Interesting to say the least. Is quite literally nobody's caught up to the safety car right now. So there he goes, safety car diving in, doesn't want to keep anybody behind, and we're back to green flag racing just like that in the middle of the lap. Really not too sure what was going on there. Safety cars be safety cars. Wouldn't be the first time we've seen an issue with the safety car here in Division 2. But nonetheless, we are the show must go on, as they say, with VR, who led the charge, leading the drivers here on this quote unquote restart. For lap 5, but not too many positions changing, of course, as a lot of drivers sitting in stuck in sector 2. Really not much of an overtaking opportunity, but very crucially, Real DC has fallen out of that crucial 1 second mark for DRS. So unless he's able to close back up, that could be a little bit of an issue for Real DC, with DeRoy who's lurking behind, trying to gain a couple positions of his own. But even looking at the elsewhere on the field after the restart here, you've got the two Aston Martins running together, P6, P7. So a good strong, good start from them, of course. And of course, further down, we've got the other battles that are happening that have taken a little bit of a breather since the safety car did come out. So we're going to see if they're going to be able to catch up, maybe pick up where they left off here. But for now, it's all about gaps. It's all about strategy here to try to make it to that pit stop and see. Some drivers might try to extend, try to get a one-stop done. Some might pit a little bit earlier, maybe commit to a two-stop strategy and have the fresher tires. We're just going to have to see how this is all going to play out as the race carries on here. But you've got DeRoy on your screen right now, who's chasing down Real DC here. We'll see if he can get the overtake done, as DRS is now enabled. Sets the fastest lap, but D-Morse right behind equally sets a fastest lap. A 110.031 is the fastest lap time here. But you can see DeRoy, he has DRS active now. Is he going to be able to go for a move? Tries to indicate that he wants to go down the inside, but just unable to close up enough here to get the overtake done, unfortunately for DeRoy. So Real DC will remain in third. But very crucially now, this top three, they're all separated by more than a second. So for Nazareth here right now, who's running in second position, P2, he's going to have to close up a little bit more to VR to try to get this overtake truly done with the help of DRS, or else he might risk forever sitting in that second position here. But you can see D-Morse down in fifth. He's on an absolute, he's on a tear right now. He's flying around the circuit here since that restart started. Was outside of a second, but set the fastest lap and brought that car right back into DRS range. But here we go. It's time for the overtake to happen. DeRoy, he gets the move done well before turn 1 as he goes up into a podium position. Up into P3 goes the McLaren of DeRoy as he gets the overtake done on the Real DC. But now Real DC, can he challenge back with his turn at DRS, or is DeRoy's pace just a little bit too much here? We'll see how this is going to play out. Came close, but not close enough, as DeWill retires from the race as he takes a very early end of the season himself here on lap 8. So an interesting call. Does not mean much in the grand scheme of things, of course, as DeWill is the championship winner. But an unfortunate end to his season, as he does he does end his race a little bit early. But meanwhile, back to the racing action, you've got Rotation, who's putting a little bit of pressure on that Alpine of Night. Now, the Rotation in the Ferrari has been stuck behind the Alpine for a better part of this race, ever since the race started, really. So we'll see if now on those medium tires, can he get the overtake done? As he's opens up DRS, is he going to be able to close up enough? Knight defending to the inside line. It's going to be close as they head into turn 1. It looks like the overtake was just done in time. Rotation does go up to P9, but there goes the Alpine of Knight fighting back. They're alongside through the Senna S's. Ooh, nearly a moment there for the Alpine as that was very, very close to sling that into the wall, but still keeping on this battle. Thought he was going to be able to go for a move into the next corner, but not quite close enough, and will be remaining in P10, rotation up into 9th. But, you know, this battle is only just begun between these two drivers. Fully expect them to go back at it near the end of this lap and start the next lap, as tends to be the case here in Brazil. But meanwhile, looking at a little bit more of the leaders here, you can see Demor's putting a lot of pressure on Real DC, who is still keeping up with Deroy, to be fair. But it looks like there is a little bit of a pace difference here in this stage of the race. But now the question is, can Demors close up enough? He's got SFR Morris behind him, who's trying to keep a little bit of pressure on. But you can see this train of DRS just unable to get an overtake done. Maybe going down into the next set of corners here. We'll see. Meanwhile, Rotation and Knight, they are going to stay where they are here. Rotation in 9th, Knight in 10th. But you can see Demor's closing, but just unable to close up enough. That train of DRS is just benefiting Real DC just enough to keep ahead, it seems. But putting a lot of pressure, waiting for his opportunity. Demors might just be able to, if he's able to catch Real DC napping in Sector 2, he's got the pace. Maybe just stick it down the inside of one of these corners in Sector 2. Hope for the best. But we'll have to see how this is all going to play out. But once again, around and around they go. DRS much closer this time is Demors. So it looks like he's using a little bit of battery, gets alongside. Real DC on the inside, Demors on the outside. But it looks like Demors just got the overtake done heading into turn 1. So Demors up into 4th as he now gets his turn to try to chase down Deroy, who equally is putting a lot of pressure on Nazareth. Are we going to have a position change here as well? It looks like side by side here for a little bit, but Deroy gets up into 2nd place. Nazareth loses a spot down to 3rd. But you can see Nazareth trying to charge back right up on the rear diffuser. Can he find that gap down the inside? No, unable to truly find the gap he was hoping for. But this battle has allowed for Demors to close back up and very quickly close up on these two drivers. So it's going to make things very interesting. All the while, VR46 Arno in the lead of this Grand Prix. He's building that gap ever so slightly up to 2.7 seconds now. So all this battling has benefited VR46 Arno more than anybody else here, I think, other than the drivers who have, of course, gained a position. But it's essentially allowed VR to get ahead. Now, Real DC diving into the pit lane, so he's had enough of those soft tires. Going to take a pit stop. Let's see what he's going to go for. Is he going to go for a set of hards, or is he going to put on a set of medium tires and take that extra grip? And he is going to go for a set of mediums. So he's the first driver out of the soft tire runners to commit to that pit stop here with the scheduled pit stop, and he's putting a set of mediums. Of course, the question is, how is everybody else going to react here to this? Knowing now that Real DC has taken their first scheduled pit stop. We'll see how it all plays out, but apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see how it's all going to play out, but for now we still have on-track battles that we're keeping an eye out on. Of course, the one on your screen is the most relevant one. We've got Demors chasing down Nazareth, who's chasing down Deroy, but SFR Morris and Lucci's, the two Aston Martins, they're trying to work as a team here, I think, to try to get all of them. But here we go. You can see there went, it looks like Nazareth went into the pit lane. Or did he? No, just taking a multiple warnings time second penalty. So it was just penalties there. I thought they were going for the pits, but not quite the case. Rotation, meanwhile, gets ahead of Jordan to get up into P7. So now Jordan, whether he wants to or not, he's involved with this battle, and now here comes Knight. He's going to have DRS. Jordan does as well. So we'll see how this is going to play out here. Soft tires versus medium tires, and there you go. You can see the beauty of the medium tires that can last a little bit longer. Those soft tires that Jordan has, I think, are starting to hit the end of their lifespan. They're not running as well as they once were at the start of this race, so it might be a little indication that pit stops are going to come soon, whether drivers want to take them or not. But you can see the back to this lead pack. The two Aston Martins, they're very close to one another here, as they're trying to chase down Demorts. Meanwhile, right up on the back of Nazareth. Are we going to see maybe another change of positions here? Let's keep an eye out on it. Nazareth, nope, he's officially committing to his pit stop. So is SFR Morris, for that matter. Lucci's, Demorts, Deroy, VR46 Arno, they're all staying out here. Gonna go at least one lap longer, but we might see them pit, I would think, over the course of the next lap or two. I don't think the overcut is overly powerful here around this track, especially given Sector 2 alone. You just need as much grip as you can, you need as much speed as you can. It'll really make or break your lap here, Sector 2, with those slow corners. Hard on the brake, quickly on the acceleration. You need the grip, you need that extra rubber here. But very crucially, we're seeing Demorts and Deroy once again battling it out. Demorts in third, Deroy in second for the time being, as they're heading through Sector 2. Demorts trying to find that window of opportunity. Will not have it there, but possibly with DRS, now that he's got Lucci's and not the rest of the gang as well here. We'll see how this is all going to play out, unless they do dive into the pits. But here we go, around that final corner. It looks like he's going to go for it. Deroy, he's taking his pit stop. Demorts is going to stay out, so Demorts is staying out, similarly to VR46 Yarno. So they're going much longer here, and crucially, so is Lucci's staying out as well. Of course, then you've got the medium tire runners of Rotation and Knight. Unsurprising that they're staying out a little bit, but Jordan is also going a little bit longer on those softs, looking to extend that first stint. Meanwhile, Boris and Marco switching positions. Marco's getting ahead of his teammate, so quite possibly a little bit of team orders there for that overtake between the two Mercedes, but they got that done safe and sound without any worry here. Because of course, that's something we've already seen here in Interlagos, the possible change of positions creating chaos for drivers. Cough, cough, a certain red team, for those who are not aware, like we saw in the past. But apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen. If you are seeing this here, there we go. We should be back up and running. Once again, apologies for that if you did see that pop up, but we got, since that result, I just had to plug my controller in, because the controller finally died out here. So I don't think we missed too much of the action. Just a couple pit stops here. You can see VR pitting from the lead, Demorts pitting as well, and Jordan also pitting. So now everybody other than Lucci's, who's now in the net lead of the race, have taken their pit stop, or at least from those who started on the soft tires. Lucci's going much longer here. Not too sure what the strategy is, but you got to think he's going to be pitting at the end of this lap or next lap. But now you can see VR out of the pit lane on a fresh set of mediums, and putting a pressure already on the first of two Mercedes he's going to have to get ahead of. First up is Boris. Next up afterwards is going to be Marcos. So we'll see how quickly VR can handle that, because it's going to be very crucial here, with Real DC right behind, keeping pace. So Real DC, with that undercut, he's made up a lot of time here to close right up on the back of the net race leader. Ooh, but VR nearly having a moment there from what we saw with the onboard. But now Lucci's is taking a pit stop. Here comes VR, the two Mercedes playing a little bit of an interesting switch game here between the two, but essentially boxing out VR. He has nowhere to go in this in that situation, so he's going to have to really get a run here. Riding on board, is he going to get it? He's got DRS, Real DC right behind. He's got to go way to the inside, nearly 3 wide here into this corner section. So VR gets ahead. Then it's Marcos, then it's Boris, and the Real DC, unfortunately, cannot get past any of the two Mercedes. Now he does, as Boris, I think, had a bit of a moment since Demors gets ahead as well. But the possible damage is already done, as Boris is continuing to fall here. Yellow flag in Sector 2. What happened to Boris? Did he take any wing damage? I think maybe just had a moment, and just the car going so much slower. But look at this group of cars that are all essentially led now by VR, but that's stretched all the way down to Nazareth. All of these drivers, the pit strategies are essentially merging here together. Now here comes the Real DC as he gets ahead of Marco, that Mercedes, so he can continue his charge with VR. But already a little bit of a gap has been formed between VR and the Real DC, about a second. Demors gets ahead as well, crucially, as now he finds himself right up on the back of the Real DC. DeRoy, now he's stuck watching these drivers get away, but he will have DRS very crucially, as he's now going to try to charge, but will not be able to close up enough. Has no ERS to work with either to try to help him out with that extra little speed boost to gain that position. So DeRoy might just be left hanging, left out to dry here if he can't get past this Mercedes very shortly, because we might see the likes of Demors, Real DC, and VR possibly start running off a little bit, as already they're closing up to free fall here. And you know the Williams of free fall is essentially going to, he's not going to give VR a hard time here. They're running different strategies. They are teammates after all, but that could very much so help with keeping the Real DC behind. We'll see how this is all going to play out as VR is closing, and crucially we're starting to see a little bit more cloud cover. We saw some sun creep out, but looks like we're going back to possible cloudy conditions. Could be that rain that we were expecting near the end of the race. But we'll see how that all works out. Meanwhile, we've got Knight chasing down rotation. They're running P1 and P2. Free fall in third here, as now you can see VR putting a little bit of pressure on. But this could work out to be a good strategy if we do start seeing rain sooner rather than later. If these medium tires can last long enough to the point where it becomes time for intermediates, then they've just whipped out a fantastic strategy out of the bag. But of course, we're going to have to see how all of this is going to play out. All the while, VR gets ahead of Freefall relatively easily here, so he can continue his charge, try to close that 5-second gap. Freefall, meanwhile, he's got now the challenge of keeping the Red Bull of Demors behind, and that's going to be a lot easier said than done, especially with DRS as powerful as it is. They both have DRS, but here we go. Is he going to get the move done? Fastest lap of the Grand Prix for Demors here on those mediums. Goes to the inside and gets the overtake done. He gets it done. So Demors up into P4. Freefall falls down to 5th position now, as I think he's going to start to fall sooner or later. We've got a yellow flag here in Sector 1. That might have been for for Marco. So Marco's on those 19-lap-old tires. He had a moment, so he might be starting to hit that point where he might want to take a pit stop. Boris on the softs, meanwhile, sitting a fastest lap of the Grand Prix, but essentially racing with himself at the moment, down in 15th, trying to close up the switchback. Who's that next driver up? There's been some fantastic racing action so far. It's lap 20 out of 36, so we're past the halfway point. About 16 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Still a little bit of sun creeping, as we saw the reflection with the onboard of DeRoy. DeRoy, meanwhile, is he going to go for it? He's getting ahead of the Real DC. So once again, the Real DC showing a lot of pace here, but just very crucially, that undercut that allowed him initially to catch up to VR and close the gap isn't quite working as well. Meanwhile, D-Morts, with the help of DRS and possibly some overtake, he gets ahead of VR 46-0. So we have D-Morts now up into third, VR down in fourth now. But this battle is, I believe, like I was saying, only just beginning. It's going to be a good one here. I think we might see a little bit of back and forth between these two drivers as this race carries on here, especially with DRS as powerful as it is around this track. But we'll see how VR is going to handle this, as he was essentially running in the lead of the race. But we've seen VR under pressure before. Very calm driver, and crucially, right behind them, you've got Freefall, who's doing a fantastic job of essentially making this a two-person fight, a two-car fight, rather than a 3, 4, 5-car fight here. Freefall continuing onwards. Now VR getting ahead. DeRoy now getting ahead of Freefall. So once again, the positions have changed. Is D-Mort's going to be able to close back up? And ladies and gentlemen, if you can see that on the car very briefly, it is starting to rain here on the circuit, on the track. It's raining here in Interlagos, so very, very slightly for now. I don't think it's going to be much of an issue, but if this rain does pick up, then we could see a possible pit stop here for intermediate tires. And you can see a little bit of dirty air, maybe a little bit of the track being slippery. D-Mort's fighting in the car a little bit there in Sector 2, and that is not an area of the track you want to be losing the car. It can create a lot of issues for you. Meanwhile, Real DC, but the Real DC getting up into 6th place, overtaking Freefall. So you can see Freefall starting to fall down the order a little bit. Next up, it's SFR Morris, but Nazareth also involved in this battle. 3 cars. There goes SFR Morris ahead. Is Nazareth going to follow right along? Can he squeeze between the two? Oh, it's 3 wide nearly going into turn 1. I think one of them had to back out, and that was Freefall playing the safer option. But oh no, the damage is done. And there's SFR Morris, who went for a spin through the Senna S's. You got to think there was a little bit of contact there, given how close the cars were. But very unfortunate for SFR Morris, as that was a spin. But there might be some extra wing damage involved too. It looks like Freefall might actually have a little bit of damage. As I'm trying to keep an eye out here, Lucis has a full wing. Nazareth has a full wing as he's putting pressures. Nazareth's maybe going to go for it. But let's see, does Freefall have a full wing? It looks like no, he's missing an end plate. Really unfortunate for Freefall, as he was driving a fantastic race, but he's going to have to get that switched, I would think, especially with the conditions worsening like they are. But of course the question is Freefall going to want to stick it out until, to avoid having to take an extra pit stop here if we do see a changeover to intermediates. We'll keep an eye out on that, but the damage is done. Meanwhile, Knight and Rotation are switching positions here, having a little bit of a battle on track. I think Knight is trying to go for it here. But Rotation doing a fantastic job in his defense. Freefall does take a pit stop, so he will be getting that switch. Meanwhile, you can see the VR and D-Morts on the much fresher tires. They've caught up to this lead pack, so we might see even more battling here. As look at this VR, he's trying to go for it. He's trying to maybe force Knight into a mistake. You've a little bit of a moment from VR actually, as that's D-Morts now who's going to try to stick it down the outside. I think Switchback might have had a little bit of a moment there, and that's going to bring out a virtual safety car. And I'm looking here, Freefall. I don't blame the call, but I do think it's a little bit early for it. But Freefall is on the intermediate tires, as he got himself his wing change. And I think he's hoping to just ride this to the changeover period. But given the time loss with that wing change, I can't say I'm too surprised here. He's trying something, just going for it. Meanwhile, takes a speeding in the a drive-through penalty for speeding on the VSC. That is not ideal too. But we're back to green flag racing very quickly, and here we go once again. Lap 25 out of 36. Knight got close, but not close enough. For the restart here, he's going to have to try to close up as much as he can. through this next section with DRS. Meanwhile, VR is a little bit further back, so that worked out for him. It's Nazareth is out of this Grand Prix, though. What happened to Nazareth? It looks like right on the exit. Oh, no. And there's Nazareth. There is that car right there. It's a yellow flag, but it doesn't look like it's going to be more. Meanwhile, D-Mort's going very slowly here, so I think he had a moment. He's got no front wing. So no front wing on D-Mort's car. What happened to D-Mort's? Did they maybe come in contact, the two drivers, or was that possibly two separate incidents here? If I try to scroll down a little bit, are we going to be able to see maybe a front wing on board with Boris? It doesn't look like it. So I'm actually not too sure what happened there to D-Mort's. But for Nazareth, it's the end of his Grand Prix as he was running so well for so long, but just unable to make it through. Meanwhile, Knight, he says enough is enough. He's diving into the pit lane. DeRoy following along suit. And I think it was very close to the limiter there for ISRL Knight. As a free fall, he's decided enough is enough. His strategy did not quite work out, but it looks like now we're seeing a couple more drivers committing to a set of intermediate tires, so they feel that it's now time. You can start seeing, ooh, there goes rotation going very wide, but we have a safety car, and that's that was for Freefall, who's out of this race. So he wasn't in the pits at all. Freefall lost the car on the exit of what was I believe turn 4, and that actually brought out a full caution safety car. And very, very unfortunate for the likes of Knight and DeRoy, who just pits about 30 seconds before the safety car came out. But meanwhile, Rotation, who stayed out for that extra lap, he might have just been given a gift here, because he can essentially take a quote-unquote free pit stop here once he gets the opportunity to get on a set of intermediate tires. But we might see a very good chance that the rest of this field is going to follow suit. Meanwhile, where is Knight, who's the lead car on the intermediates? It's gonna be close, but having to respect the this limiter here, now we can gain a little bit, but there we go. It's gonna be close. Who's gonna take the lead of this race after it's all said and done with the pits? I think having to respect the delta is just really affecting, as Lucchese takes a speeding in the pit lane penalty, as there go the leaders here just leaving the pit lane, and it's going to be a Rotation who's, I think, still going to be in the lead of this race. VR in second. Knight at least gets himself up into third, so it's only really a net one position lost here, but I'm sure he would have much preferred being in second, or even possibly for the lead here. But of course, for Knight and DeRoy, they do still gain a couple spots here as they catch up to the safety car, along with giving everybody else taking that pit stop. But there we go. We did get that second round of pit stops. Just unfortunate that it was under safety car to not see the chaos unfold with the different pit stop strategies here. But on the intermediate tires, definitely time for them now, as Rotation is leading this Grand Prix, with VR in second and Knight rounding out the top three. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go take a quick sip of water here. I'll be back in just a few moments to take you through any possible changes or anything that has happened while I'm gone, and of course the restart here under safety car. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am back. I've got my sip of water. I am ready to go. We'll see how this is all going to play out with the safety car. Hopefully coming in at the end of this lap. We'll find that out soon enough. But it's rotation, leading VR, leading Knight, leading DeRoy as the top four. I did put on the penalties here so we can just get an idea of what we're working with here this late in the race, as we have less than 10 laps to go. So penalties all that much more important than they were, with the grid being bunched up here. But you've got Lucchese with a 5-second, Real DC with a 5-second penalty, SFR Morris with 3, D Morris with 3, Com Koala up to 8 seconds, Marco's with 3, and Switchback with 3 seconds as he's trying to catch up to that safety car queue. Should be able to get it done before the end of this lap, but I do think safety car should be coming in at the end of this lap as well. Or fingers crossed that the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. But we've got the penalties there on the board for a little bit. Let's I want to take a quick look at the positions change. So rotation, obviously the biggest benefactor of this safety car, up 14 positions here. You do need a little bit of luck sometimes, but he's up 14 positions to the lead of this race, going along on that set of medium tires right to the changeover period for the intermediates. VR down 1, Knight up 8 positions. So that still worked out very well for him here as well, even with pitting that one lap earlier. DeRoy, he's perfectly balanced here. Started in 4th, running in 4th, but you know he's going to want to gain a couple. Lucci's up 4. Meanwhile, Real DC is down 4. SFR Morris up 1. D Morris up 1. Com Koala up 7 positions here. So he did have a qualifying ban, so started at the back of the field, but has made the most of it here up into P9. We'll see if he can keep hold of that. But safety car coming in at the end of this lap, so rotation becomes the de facto safety car. He gets to set the pace here for the restart, as you can see, getting that last little bit of heat into the tires, with the rest of the field following suit. When is he gonna go? It looks like now is gonna be when he's gonna go. As he heads towards the line, you can see Knight already putting a lot of pressure here on VR, but will not be able to go for an overtake here. Meanwhile, you can see Lucci's defending. Lucci's was defending a little bit here, maybe trying to help his teammate Morris get ahead of Real DC, but unfortunately not quite working out. Switchback and Boris exchange positions. Here comes the Real DC though down the inside. SFR Morris got a run though, a fantastic exit, as he's going to go alongside of the Haas driver. Inside line, they make a little bit of contact there, wheel to wheel, nothing wrong with that. They're still alongside of one another. Who's going to get that position? It looks like it was Morris who gets it, but Real DC trying to stick it down the inside. Oh no, Morris has to go a little bit wide, and that's going to open the door to D-Morts as he's trying to get around. Com Koala now getting involved in this battle as well in the midfield. It's a great battle to see here, but it looks like that's been sorted out here in Sector 2. As a little harder to go for overtakes, but that's not stopping the Alpine. Oh, a little bit of contact there, nearly sending both drivers off the track, but they both able to keep that car under control, with Com Koala now ahead of SFR Morris as he's trying to chase down D-Morts. Boris and Switchback switching positions here too, for the essentially for the wooden spoon here at the back of the grid. But at the front, rotation still leads. VR just can't quite seem to find that pace to get ahead. DRS, I don't think is enabled here on the track. Let's take a look. Well, definitely not for these first few laps, but I don't think it will be now that we're very truly in intermediate weather conditions. But meanwhile, SFR Morris trying to close right back up and trying to regain that position from Com Koala. We'll see. We'll keep an eye out on him. He's got Jordan behind him as well for a little bit of pressure. So we'll see how this is all going to play out here. Meanwhile, Real DC and Lucci's are in a heated battle right now. There was less than a tenth of a second separating both drivers here on track. Quite literally could throw a blanket on top of them and you would cover them. But that's since, once again, through Sector 2, it's so difficult to get overtakes done. You gotta just pick your opportunity, and you got to get a little bit lucky with that window of opportunity. Not quite the case here. Drivers are very much aware of the gaps they leave open, especially in these higher divisions, Division 2 and of course Division 1. But let's take a look. DeRoy, he's going a charge here. Can he get ahead of Knight? He's thought about it, but no, just unable to find that extra gear, that extra oomph, so to say, to get ahead of the Alpine driver. So Knight remaining in third here with 4 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, a little bit further behind, we've got a yellow flag here, and that's Kom Koala, who goes for a little bit of a spin, gets back on track here, but an unfortunate moment for Kom Koala this late in the race as he spins it through the Senna S's, and now he's going to have to close right back up that gap that he has, 5 seconds. Meanwhile, Demorts, he's going to try to go. He's sticking it down the inside. There's a little bit of contact there. Ooh, nearly unsettling both cars there, but they both keep it under control, but the move is done. Demorts gets ahead of the Real DC. You can see Real DC trying to... He's trying to challenge back, but just not quite. Once again, that's Sector 2, just so difficult to overtake, especially in these intermediate conditions. In that later section of Sector 2, you gotta hope that gap is there, that window of opportunity, and it's just most of the time it's not quite there. So we'll see here down that start finish straight, using a little bit of overtake is Real DC to try to help his case to close that gap back up. But Demorts has done a great job of running away with this a little bit after. Meanwhile, Boris chasing down his teammate. Are they going to switch positions here? They're close, but no, it's not going to happen here, as they're just going to stick one behind another. Switchback, meanwhile, he said enough is enough, and he's retired from the race in the pit lane. So that's the end of his Grand Prix for Switchback. DeRoy, meanwhile, still stuck behind that Alpine of Knight on lap 33 here, trying to get ahead, but just you can see the difficulty of the intermediate tires, and of course the difficulty with the lack of DRS on the circuit here with these intermediate tires, having to rely a lot more on pure driving skill. Who, as DeRoy, right as I say that, has a little bit of a moment there, nearly losing the car. But keeps that under control, just keeps calm, and still stays within that window here. Maybe he might be able to go for it if he can nail the exit. Another moment from DeRoy, really slipping, sliding around the track now. Is that McLaren? As that's definitely not going to help his case. That's the one corner you don't want to be losing. You don't want to be losing the back end, because that essentially kills your entire run up down into turn 1, as we saw right then and there. Knight can live to survive on that P3 for another day, but very crucially though, Rotation just has not been able to be caught. VR trying to do his best here, but just has not been able to catch up to that Ferrari, who is just flying for the time being around the track, around the circuit here, and really only has to do so for a couple more laps. So Rotation really making the best of the strategy call here, as Kom Koala takes another 3-second time penalty to be added to his time. But like I was saying, Rotation making the best of his strategy and really working wonders for him here this late in the race. But let's take a look here. I'll get those penalties back up for everybody just to see, as we're really nearing the end of the session. And oh no, that's Jordan out of this race. What happened to Jordan? Let's jump on board. I think he just lost the back end on the exit of that corner right there, right before the sweeping left. So for Jordan, unfortunately, was running a good race, but unfortunately on lap 34, it's the end of his Grand Prix, and that is the end of his season as well here. And I think for Jordan, it was a little bit of a disappointing season. Might have been hoping for a little bit more out of it, but of course, it's back to the drawing board and just retool, regroup for next season, of course. But of course, it's the penultimate lap now of the Grand Prix. It's the penultimate lap of the season here for Division 2, with Rotation, who's still leading. We're starting to see a little bit more standing water on the track, so these inters are going to be that much more challenging. And we've got another yellow flag here, as I think that was for Boris, who might have had a little bit of a moment on one of the corner exits, but he's got that sorted out. but you've got DeRoy still trying to get past the Alpine, just can't quite seem to find a way by, but he's gonna have to get it done sooner rather than later, or else he might risk seeing himself outside of the podium, on the outside looking in. But you can see fighting the car a little bit here. Looks like he's struggling with these conditions just that much more than some of the other runners, and that might be just enough here as we're starting the final lap of the race here. Rotation, he's looking to be in enough of a commanding lead here, about a second between himself and VR46 Jarno. So VR really gonna have to hope for a gift here from that Ferrari driver, or else he might have seen that possible P1 fall right out from under him. But all the while, between this, DeRoy getting very, very close, and very crucially now, Demort's also getting very close to Lucci's on track. So two battles going on very near one another, but coming through Sector 2, time is running out here on the final lap. Drivers leading really going to have to be being very aware of where they're positioning their car. Drivers behind, ooh, and you saw that right there, Timors. I think he tried to just go for it, just chuck it in there, hope for the best, knowing that that might have been the best possible opportunity he might have this lap. But now the key here is maybe hope Lucci's doesn't get the exit. Oh no, but it's Demors who gets a little bit of the tank slapper. Quickly further ahead, it's going to be Rotation who is going to win the Grand Prix here. VR crosses the line in second, Knight and DeRoy in third and fourth. But as Lucci's crosses the line, Demors gets him on penalties. So Demors rounds out the season with a top 5, just finishing behind DeRoy. Knight ends up on the podium for his final race of the season. But of course, Rotation, we've seen the struggles he's had over the course of the season, but what a way to end it off here. Makes the strategy work to perfection, and he is your winner in that Ferrari. You know, the Tifosi absolutely loving that here, seeing that red car on the top step of the podium. But there we have it. What a race that was. Had a little bit of everything here, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit of some excitement, a little bit of chaos there. Even the weather decided it wanted to come play a factor here for the finale. But at the end of the day, it's the Ferrari of Rotation who takes the win. Not to take anything away from VR. He drove such a fantastic race. But that strategy from Rotation to stick it out, mixed in with the a little bit of luck from that safety car, a well-timed safety car, meant that he had the lead and never looked back. But one more time through the order, like we said, Rotation from 15th up to 1st. A fantastic drive here, pulling off that one stop. VR46 Jarno from 1st down to 2nd, and Knight from P11 up into 3rd. Might be kicking himself a little bit for pitting one lap before that safety car, but still a fantastic drive here to round off the season. DeRoy finishes in 4th, so remains perfectly balanced after starting in 4th, with Demorts going from 7th to 5th. Lucci's from 9th to 6th. Morris from 8th up one position to 7th. Real DC unfortunately falling down to 8th here. And Marcos and Boris rounding out the top 10 with Com Koala in 11th. There is the rest of the grid order with the DNFs as well and the penalties. But that was a fantastic, very exciting race here. A great way to cap off the season, and it is unfortunately the end of the season here. That was the finale, but it's been a fantastic season all throughout. So, but for those who are a little upset, worry not, we've got one more race for you here today, kicking off in about 40 minutes time. It'll be Division 1 as they take their turn here around Interlagos, and if this race was anything to show, I'm sure it's going to be a good one. But like I was saying, for Division 2, it's the end of the season here. We've had some fantastic races all throughout, and ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me here week in, week out. Thank you to the drivers who show up week in, week out, putting on a show for myself and all of you watching at home. It's been fantastic to get through. But until next time, or until Division 1, but for Division 2, until next time, my name is Fallen Monkeys, saying Thank you so much for watching, and have yourselves a fantastic day.